Hello, welcome to Kempton Math. This is Algebra 2. We are in Unit 1, Lesson 5. This is our introduction to long division. So long division is really just the opposite of multiplication. So I have an example here. If I were to just multiply two numbers, 13 times 121, we would get 1,573. So if I were to do the opposite, 1,573 divided by 13, well, we would just get 121. So we haven't seen long division in a very long time. So I'm just going to walk you through a basic long division question. Now, I already know the answer here. I already know that it's 121 because we just did it. But let's actually see how we do it the long way. So the number one thing that we're looking for is we're dividing by 13. So you're looking to see what 13 goes into. So the first one you're looking for is 1. Well, 13 doesn't go into 1. But does 13 go into 15? Yeah. The closest number that we're going to get is 1. So 1 times 13 is going to give us 13. So that's your first step, to figure out what multiplies to get as close to possible as that number underneath the division sign. So once you find that, you're going to actually do the multiplication, and then the rule from here is to find the difference. So we're going to go ahead and subtract. So 15 minus 13 is 2. Now once you do that, you're going to bring down the next number and you're going to start again. So now we're looking for something that multiplies to 13 that comes as close as possible to 27. So 1 times 13 is 13. Can we get closer? We sure can. 2. So 2 times 13 is going to get us very close, 26. So how close are we? Well, we have a remainder of 1. And then lastly, we're going to bring this down and we're going to do this one more time. So what multiplies to 13 that gets 13? Well, there you have it. It's 1. So when we do the last multiplication, we notice that it works out perfectly. It's a perfect factor. So that's how we do long division with numbers. But now let's pretend, just for a second, that x is 10. If x is 10 and I want to make 13, I'm going to need 10 plus 3. And if I were to do this using the same thing, well, that 1 represents 1,000. So if I'm using x, wouldn't I need to multiply 10 times 10 times 10 to get 1,000? So this is going to be represented as x to the third. And then you do the same process with the other numbers. So I'm kind of using that as a template. So if I kind of think of this as 1,573, and I'm dividing this by 13. I already know that my answer is going to be 121. So it's just a little bit more complicated because I'm using x's, but it's really the same process. So the first thing that you're going to do, just like you did before, is you're going to figure out what multiplies to x to the third that is going to come as close as possible. So I already have an x, so I'm going to need an x squared, because an x squared times x is x to the third. Now we did this up here, you just didn't really realize it. So watch carefully. When I have this 1 here, I multiplied 1 times 1 to get 1, and I multiplied 1 times 3 to get 3. So now I'm doing the same process over here. I did my multiplication with the x, but now I need to do the multiplication with the 3. So x squared times 3 is a positive 3x squared. Now once you have your multiplication, what did we do next? Well, let's check it out. We subtracted. So same exact thing over here. We're going to subtract, but just be careful because we're subtracting two terms. So x to the third minus x to the third is gone. But we also have a 5 minus a 3. So some of my students like to put the sign there just so they don't forget. So 5 minus 3 is 2, and we still have x squared. Now we're going to drop that next number down, just like we did over here. Okay, see that's 7, we dropped that down. And now we're going to start over again. Okay, so if I erase this red here, we're looking for what multiplies to x and comes as closest to 2x squared as possible. We want it exactly to be 2x squared. So I'm going to need a 2, and I'm also going to need an x. So 2x times x is 2x squared. And now I need to multiply the next term times 3. So 2x times 3 is 6x. Once you have your multiplication, it's time to subtract. So this first term always should cancel. 2 minus 2 is 0. And don't forget that you're subtracting that 6. So 7 minus 6 is just a 1. So we have a 1x. We're going to do this one more time. We're going to drop that 3 down. And now we're looking for, let me just erase that. We're now looking for what multiplies times x that gives you x. Well, the only thing that gets you itself is just a 1. So 1 times x is x. And then we also have 1 times 3, which is going to give you a positive 3. And then the last step, just to show that our remainder is 0, is to subtract going down. So when I change this sign, 3 minus 3 is 0, and we have a perfect factor. So our answer is x squared plus 2x plus 1. Now it does say check by multiplying, because the opposite of division is multiplication. So if you wanted to check, I can actually take these two polynomials. One of them is a trinomial, so x squared plus 2x plus 1, x plus 3. And when I multiply this out, you'll notice that you'll get whatever you divided by. These are like terms, these are like terms, so I'm left with x to the third plus 5x squared plus 7x plus 3. And that was what I divided by. And there's your long division. All right, let's try another one. This one is just set up a little bit differently. It's shown as a fraction, but fractions really mean division. So I'll rewrite this. Okay, and I have 7x minus 1. All right, so the way that you start is you're looking for something that multiplies by 7x that will get you that first term inside there, 7x to the third. So we already have a 7x, so we're just going to need an x squared. So when we do the multiplication, it gets us exactly 7x to the third. Now we also need to multiply by that next term, so x squared times negative 1 is just a negative x squared. Once you do the multiplication, it's time to do subtraction. This first term will always cancel. And just be careful here because you have a negative 8 minus a negative x. So sometimes my students like to just change that sign to show that that negative went there. All right, so negative 8 plus 1 is going to give me a negative 7, and then I have x squared. All right, I'm going to drop that 13 down, and then we're going to start the process over again. So I'm figuring out what multiplies by 7x to give you a negative 7x squared. So I'm definitely going to need a negative here, and I'm going to need one more x to make that x squared. So now I have my negative 7x squared. Now I'm going to multiply by the next term. A negative times a negative is a positive, so this just becomes a positive x. Once I have the multiplication, I subtract going down. So that double negative turns positive. So really, negative 7 plus 7 is going to cancel out to 0. Don't forget that you are really subtracting that x. So negative 13 minus x is negative 14x. And one more time, I'm going to drop this down. And I'm going to start the process over one more time. I'm looking for something times 7x. That will get you a negative 14x. So I'm going to need a negative, and I'm just going to need a 2. So negative 2 times 7x is negative 14x. I'm going to also multiply by that negative 1. So negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2. And what you'll notice is that you'll actually get the same thing. So that's always a good sign, because when we subtract down, then what happens, these cancel out, and my remainder is 0. Awesome job. We have one more question. This question also looks like a division question, but what you'll notice is that there's a term missing. Inside here, there's no x. So what we're going to use is a placeholder. This placeholder just makes it a little bit more organized, so when we do our division, we kind of don't get lost with our like terms. So 2x to the third minus 4x squared. There's my placeholder, plus 2 and 2x minus 2. All right, so to start it off, we're looking for something that multiplies by 2x. That will get you 2x to the third. So looks like we're going to need an x squared. So x squared times 2x gets you exactly 2x to the third. You always want to multiply by that second term as well. So x squared times negative 2 is negative 2x squared. Once you have the multiplication done, this is the subtraction part. You should always have the first one that cancels out. And just be careful, because here we have a negative 4 minus a negative 2. So this sign really always changes. So negative 4 plus 2 will get you a negative 2x squared. All right, now we're going to drop this 0x down. And we are going to start over again. So we are looking for something that multiplies to 2x. That will get us a negative 2x squared. Well, we need it to be negative, and we're going to need one more x there. So negative x times 2x squared is a negative 2x squared. Don't forget, we're also going to multiply. So negative x times negative 2 becomes a positive 2x. Once you have the multiplication, it's time to subtract going down. So negative 2 minus negative 2, that cancels out. This will become a negative, so 0 minus 2 is a negative 2x. And then we have one more. Drop that 2. And we're going to repeat the process one more time. Here we go. All right. So what times 2x will get you negative 2x? Well, we're going to need it to have a negative 1. So negative 1 times 2x gives you negative 2x. And then don't forget that we're going to multiply negative 1 times negative 2. That's going to get you a positive 2. So when you kind of see the same thing underneath it, you know that you're kind of right, because now once I subtract this, everything's going to cancel out. That cancels out. This really is 2 minus 2, which also cancels out to 0. So we have no remainder, and we are done. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you next time. Bye.